Live from the Motor City, all the way to the Volunteer State. It's time for the Reckless Speculation Podcast, where we recklessly speculate the latest news in the world of sports. From college football to NASCAR, we've got you covered. And don't forget to stick around for the world-famous Bet Your Nuts, where we will give you your best bets to make the most money. Now sit back, grab your favorite drink of choice, and join Robbie Davis, Raj Mehta, Brandon Chain, and Tom Sloan. It's showtime.
Good evening, and welcome to Easy's Playhouse. As you can see, Easy does it. I just got to pay homage to the man. My name is Raj. Welcome to Reckless Speculation. First off, I wanted to take time to thank the big audience we had last week. A number of people texted in and streamed in and stayed on for longer. It was an intelligent discussion because we are sophisticated individuals. As my Mike Tyson sign punch out thing is off. But no, we enjoyed it, and we thank a lot of you who stayed on the entire time, and that was without it even being the recording, so it was live, so truly appreciate you. Like, subscribe, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, X, and hopefully still TikTok, depending on what the government does with the Chinese. No racism intended there, but I'm Indian, so it's okay. But without further ado, let me introduce our panel. First, the producer extraordinaire, live and quite arrogant and cocky for the first time in 50 years, but they've earned it. From Detroit Motor City, Tom Sloan. What's up, Tom?
Mr. Raj, how are you? Yes,
arrogant face. That son of a. I'm just kidding.
Yes. Last week's show was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, Robbie couldn't be here, and Brandon had some technical difficulties. So he had
liver.
Yeah, right. So, but yes, great audience that we definitely are thankful for. So, looking to build on that tonight.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of, and welcome. There's a lot for you to talk about. Positive, per usual, in this year. You son of a bitch, I'm jealous.
Gotta love Brad Holmes.
Yeah.
Brad, we trust.
You've earned it. There's no doubt you guys have earned it. The entire state of Michigan,
yeah, absolutely.
Especially the east side, has earned it. But we referenced Brandon Chain. Brandon, number one, how's your liver? And did you find a way to plug the outlet thing into the wall thing? For the computer?
The problem, I left the outlet thing that charges the computer in the men's grill, so that was on me. So
in the bad. Where?
It's our bar at the clubhouse.
Poipoloi.
No, I'm not trying to be. It's just it was frustrating because I didn't realize we were going that night, so I wasn't prepared and didn't have the computer charged up.
You did great. Everybody thought you were prepared, and you know me, I go 8 mile. I call it out first, and anytime I can make fun of you and have a Judge Smales reference, I'm all about it. But,
it's all good, dude. I felt so bad. I was sitting there, and then all of a sudden the screen went black. I was like, what happened? And
just thought you went black because that's normally what I do. You are a very successful businessman, not to make you blush, but you had a very big deal, and bourbon is for closers. So no harm, no foul. Tomas and I, per usual, carried the show with our dashing good looks and objectivity. Finally, attorney extraordinaire, who was unfortunately not here last week, but has returned just in time for the SEC tournament and the number one seed, Tennessee Vols. He is Robbie Davis.
Get ready, folks. Get ready. Yes.
Boom! Back and better than ever, folks. Happy to be here. I think we had our all-time high viewership because I wasn't here last week, but I'm back and ready to take it back down to the dump.
You're
I'm
like
having
a Texas Longhorn right now.
Dude, I'm having flashbacks because I stayed at the
real
Graduate Hotel.
The real UT.
I was at the Graduate Hotel in Knoxville, and right by the door was Fulmer and Peyton wearing that hat, and they were like duck hunting or something. And I was just like, "Why?" It was by the bathroom, fittingly. So I did have to go, but I'm having flashbacks. Wow. But yeah, just to roadmap it, as they say in the legal field, we're going to start off with the moneymaker, the biggest sport in the world, with apologies to soccer, and that's the NFL. As we've said before, 14 of the top 15 broadcasts this past year in primetime were NFL broadcasts, 18 out of 20. So we're going to start there with free agency, and then sort of get into some college basketball, the resurgence of women's college basketball, and is it a resurgence, and why, and that type of thing. Is basketball doing enough to market the stars that they have, women's basketball? Finally, we are going to do a pretty in-depth SEC tournament preview with your number one seed and the White Mamba Wamba, Tennessee Volunteers. So let's just get straight into it. NFL free agency, day one, we saw a number of quarterbacks go. We all know who did the best, really, and that's the Raiders and Gardner Minshew.
Little ass boy.
who Max Crosby from Michigan called a little ass boy. I don't believe he meant homophobic in their game this year before he sacked him. But no, really, other Joe Flacco to the Colts in that resurgence. Mac Jones, a number one pick overall by Bill Belichick. I think he yielded a sack of potatoes and
like a seventh round pick.
Yeah, same thing. Russell Wilson and Denver eating that $58 million this year cap. And finally, Kirk Cousins to Atlanta. Robbie, I'm starting with you. Is Kirk Cousins a top 10 fantasy quarterback on the Atlanta Falcons?
Kirk Cousins has become unbelievably wealthy playing this game of football. He was my fantasy quarterback last year in Minnesota. He was tearing it up. I think he's coming into a very similar situation with these weapons in Atlanta. I am not a Falcons fan. I live in the area. There were Falcons talk goes on and on and on. I love this move. I think this puts them a legit contender in the NFC. The division, while it's improving, it's still winnable. Cousins coming there gives them the.
I think it's very winnable, right? I mean,
yeah. It gives them what they needed. They needed this to when they have a running back, they have receivers, they have a tight end, they have a defense. I really like this move.
And they signed, of course, Darnell Mooney from the Bears, who's an up-and-coming receiver, top 5 offensive line, pass blocking, even though they had Desmond Ridder last year. And obviously, a la the Detroit Lions, Bijan Robinson, who can do a number of things out of the backfield. Speaking of Detroit, Tom, you didn't answer me. Is he a top 10 fantasy quarterback?
He's a top 10 fantasy quarterback. He's a top 10 NFL quarterback. With this surrounding cast, I rate him around the 7th or 8th range.
Age 35, that much money, Achilles injury in 2023, no worries?
I mean, he's not running for vice president.
Touche. Moving on to Tom, I just mentioned that I think Atlanta did very well, but they broke the bank, as did the Raiders for Christian Wilkins and a few others. However, teams like Washington, who actually was smart for once, and the Detroit Football Lions, the Honolulu Blue, really went the other route, and they filled need, and they did so without breaking the bank. and very cap friendly with an eye on the future, a la the Atlanta Braves, for you Braves fans. How much better did the Lions get?
I think they got exponentially better. If you look at who they were able to sign today, DJ Reader, got him from Cincinnati. He's a pass blocker. I mean, he just plugs all the holes. So now what you can do is you can plug him in at tackle, and you can move Aleem McNeil to his natural position, and you pair them up with Aiden Hutchinson and Davenport, who they also just got in here. That's a pretty formidable defensive line. They tenured James Houston, so they picked up his option for this year, and he missed most of last year, so he's going to be coming in healthy, rested, fresh legs, as well as Davenport, who didn't play a whole lot last year due to injury. So I think this defensive front is going to allow the holes that have kind of been in that secondary to fill themselves. Now they go out and get Carlton Davis from Tampa Bay to work on that corner, and Amik Robertson from the Raiders, who you're familiar with. So personally, I think
excellent nickel corner. He's a ball hawk. He's a little dude from Louisiana Tech, but
yeah. So I think they got more athletic, especially in that backfield, which they need. I mean, it was no secret their secondary was like Swiss cheese. Cam Sutton was like a 97% completion rate to balls thrown his way. He was just absolutely left on an island for most of the season. So don't forget they re-signed Mosley, who they brought in last year, who made 2 snaps and blew his knee out. So he'll be back. But all in all, they got kind of low-risk players, and they didn't do anything to kind of upset or upend what they have going. And that was what they were hoping to get into in this free agency. Yes, they had a lot of cap space, but they were, 2 minutes away from going to a Super Bowl. So you don't want to, ruin that dynamic. So what's it going to take? How much are you willing to risk to bring in pieces, and are they the right pieces? So I think they brought in guys that are going to definitely be impactful right away, but you didn't upset the group that you had building in the last 2 years. So I think it's Brad Holmes' masterclass. Like I said earlier in the chat, he just knows how to swing deals. He sees talent and with him, Brad Holmes, Chris Spielman, and Dan Campbell, who were all extended this afternoon. So they're here beyond 2027. So they're a tight unit. They're a tight front office. So they know who they want, the type of player they want, and they know what they've got coming next month in the draft. So I don't expect anything other than great things next month. So I like what they did.
They were with games of within 10 points or less. I believe they were 7-3. They had off the charts offensive statistics. They were fairly healthy. Those are 3 things that are hard to duplicate. Are you concerned at all? I know that's kind of like voodoo. We don't know about that stuff. Or is this team good enough to overcome that and win this division?
I think it all comes down to coaching. And they have the right coaches. They have a team, they have a coaching staff, they have a general manager that is very humble and paints it plainly. Hey, do you want to win? This is what it takes. And seeing the progression from 2 years ago, going into Green Bay 2 years ago, week 17, knowing that they were out of the playoff run, they played that game like their lives depended on it. That set the tone for this past season. So I definitely believe that they can take what they learned to winning 2 playoff wins, losing on the road in the NFC Championship. They can take what they learned from that and build on it. And don't forget, this offense they're all intact. Every single one of them are coming back except for Jonah Jackson, who went to the Rams, who missed a good percentage of last season due to injury, who Graham Glasgow, who they just re-signed, played for him. So 99% of that offense is all back. And Jahmyr Gibbs is going to build off of what he had. And Jamison Williams is going to be there from week 1 on. And his motion was going up the way he was playing even into the NFC Championship game. So I look for great things to happen from him. So I expect Super Bowl next year. I think they're built for it, and they have the right mentality, that grit mentality. That
expect Super Bowl.
Keep it. I expect Super Bowl.
Okay.
Hey, I expect Super Bowl enough. I put money on it.
Times they are changing.
Yep.
I want to caution you this, Raj and Brandon know this from our fantasy group chain. Hope it's a depressing thing.
Hey,
it's a dangerous thing, according to Red.
We got to have something to hold on to.
Shane, you and I have been critical of Dan Campbell at times. Do you think his philosophy will come back to bite them in the ass, or is that what you got to do? Go for it, play to win.
No, I don't think so at all. I actually really like his, philosophy and point of view. Being a former player himself, and then he gets it, right? Like he understands that moment, being a player, trusting in your teammates and that you can execute. Now, obviously, it always doesn't happen, but man, when it does, it's so good and it's so great. And you got to take those risks, I think. Was it a little much? Maybe, but we're having a completely different conversation right now if it worked. And there's always that chance. I mean, it could have worked. So I'm okay with it.
The ball was dropped.
Right. So I'm okay with it. I like that. I like the gutsy, not being safe and playing by the book all the time. I mean, you've got to think outside the box sometimes. So I'm good with it. I think Dan Campbell's the right coach for that team. I think they've got a really good thing going. They're going to be tough. Super Bowl, that's tough to do, any year. But they a contender for sure, a favorite for sure.
I agree with you. But Tom, it's one of those things that, sometimes the ball is dropped on those. I mean, it's a high pressure situation, but the plays were there, and that's coaching. And more often than not, I'd say like 80% of the time they were there. I'm going to stick with you real quick. I think the Tennessee Titans have done really well overall in free agency. Am I right or am I wrong?
Me, right? Overall, absolutely. Yeah.
Tell me why.
Well, first off, I think Lloyd Cushenberry is a huge sign. That's going to really help solidify that offensive line. 4-year deal, which is great, and that's the step in the right direction.
Bottom 5 offensive line PFF, which still amazes you what King Henry had done. And Rob, you're next on King Henry. But go ahead. Sorry, who else? You don't think they overpaid for Ridley or overpaid for Cushenberry? Or
no, I mean, when everyone has money now, right? They up the cap $30 million. So everybody's got money. Titans were already going to be second in the money, regardless of what the salary cap raise was going to be. So adding an extra $30 million to that, even though they're, the dead cap hit, I think we had the second highest dead cap hit as well, but we still balanced out. So yeah, I mean, I love it. Not the Mason Rudolph, that's kind of strange. Calvin Ridley, huge sign, experience, and what an athlete, what a receiver he is. So I think that's going to help.
Experience at some stuff, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he. No, I like Calvin Ridley. I had him on my fantasy team last year. I thought he was great. Obviously, he's a great player. Tony Pollard. Pollard. Yeah, they did. Pollard, they could have got Derrick Henry for the same money. So here's an interesting thing, and I'm going to sidebar here, and I apologize. If you look at all the running back signings, the running back market, even though it seemed like a frenzy and crazy, people were moving pieces all over the place. It's very cheap. I mean, the average running back, like for a decent running back, you're paying between $7 to $8 million a year, which is pretty cheap. I mean,
more than it was a few years ago, and I was going to ask Rob about that. But keep going.
Yeah, sorry.
No.
I mean, so McCaffrey signed a deal with 49ers, and he's averaging around 12 per year. The only new sign was Josh Jacobs, who is also getting 12 per year. He signed 4 years, 48 mil. That's a pretty good deal. But you look at Saquon, he's at 12.5 per year. Again, another big star, big time. But why is Henry a 2-year, $16 million? That one surprised the crap out of me because, I mean, he's been one of the top 3-4 running backs in the league for the last 4 or 5 years. So that was crazy. But I did expect him to go to Baltimore. So the Titans seem to always send their players that they can't afford anymore straight to Baltimore, which is it's
so bad
crazy.
For them.
Like, go to the NFC, send them to the NFC. Stop sending them to the AFC. But
like Aaron Jones going by default from Green Bay to Minnesota. Like, you don't do that. But Rob, can you put it in words what Derrick Henry meant to the Tennessee Titans franchise?
Well, to play off my last comment, hope, right? Like, we had Henry, we had a chance. We could combat the Patrick Mahomes offense because we could keep them off the field. We could rely on Henry every single game to dominate. And he just gave us that stable kind of old school mentality football of we can win a different way. As far as the Titans overall, I'm not sure what they're doing. It's like I don't hate the offseason. I don't love the offseason. It just feels like you're treading water. And it's like, if you knew you're getting rid of Henry, why didn't you trade him last year for at least a draft pick or so? And like, I don't really get what they're doing. And you sign Ridley, which I don't mind that signing, but you traded a 2-year younger AJ Brown away, and now you're getting Henry. You're signing him or Ridley and signing him to a 2-year contract. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I just feel like,
to be fair, that's completely on a different regime, right? Like, this is a whole new front office, and now I feel like
same ownership,
but they're not into all that. They're running the money side, business side of it, the player evaluation and what they do. That Amy Adams Strunk, I love her, but she has nothing to do with any of that.
James Thomas, I agree.
Yeah.
Hot take, great take.
That's great. That's great.
Definitely a hot take.
But
what about?
I know.
I think sometimes
hey, Mr. Thomas, we all apologize for Raj's Dodger hat.
I think sometimes, just having a whole new regime, like change for the sake of change, shaking things up just to look like you're busy or doing something is a valid strategy. They're coming in, they're making moves. It gets some of the fans excited. I mean, we've got some decent names in here, and it's going to completely change the team. Like I said, I was really excited about the O-line signing. Ridley, sidebar, a really great receiver. I think he can really help out there. But again, it's just different regime. I think it's someone coming in and cleaning house and
sports gambling is legal in Tennessee.
Like I said, because I mean, you could have re-signed Derrick Henry. He's getting the same money as Pollard. Pollard got a 3-year deal for $24 million. That's $8 million a year.
I don't think Henry wanted to be in Tennessee anymore.
Yeah,
he
gave his farewell speech.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, this hat only cost me $1.6 million, Dodger hat. With Pollard, though, he effed me in fantasy. He went from averaging 5.5 to 5.2 with Thunder and Lightning with Zeke to all the way down to 4 yards per carry, and he needed some late season to get to that. He's not much bigger than Tyjae Spears. Do you think that's going to be a problem for the Titans? Because the Thunder and Lightning and third down back, and these are two guys that are not clones, but
they better focus on O-line. They better focus on O-line in the draft.
That's absolutely it. And let's just go to that real quick. A lot of this has affected the draft. Rob, what do the Titans do with their first pick? Where do they go?
Well, now that we have Ridley, I was going to say wide receiver. But I mean, look, tackle or defensive end or cornerback, if you're assuming Levis is the guy, then yes. So those are 3 next positions of importance. But this is our first time watching the head coach and how he's going to call a game, what his philosophy is when he's on his own. So if it was Vrabel still, I'd say, I know he's probably going to go O-line, but I don't know this coach and what he evaluates. This is going to be a nice little first preview of the front office and the coach and seeing what they evaluate and what they think is nice.
And you said some of the things don't make sense. Mason Rudolph does win games. He's 8-4-1 career record, but he's more of a game manager. He's a guy that would be better with Henry, in my opinion. 19 TDs, 11 picks. Career he averages less than 7 yards. But yeah, then you get a speedster on one end, and to me that tells me that Levis is the guy. But you also you don't have a lot of players that are patient. Who is the starting quarterback day one, Brandon?
It's definitely Levis. I think what this displays, in my opinion, is a complete change in the entire offensive thinking and scheme. Like, we were more of a run-first team, run the clock, that kind of mentality under Vrabel. This is the complete opposite direction of that. So now I expect to see a lot of screens, a lot of bubble screens. Pollard and Sharp both are great with their hands. They can catch out of the backfield. They could step in the slot, empty backfield. So I expect to see a lot more of the spread style with this kind of movement. But like Robbie said, who knows? We're all obviously speculating here, but that's what it looks like to me just at first glance of the offseason.
Tom, I'm going to stick with running backs here. Aside from Jacobs and Henry and Pollard, who we've talked about, what is the best signing that you think is the best fit? I mean, Austin Eckler went for cheap, and that guy just produces, but he's going to Washington. I like Devin Singletary going to Houston.
The Giants, or no,
the Giants. The Giants. From Houston to the Giants. With Houston, they got why am I blanking on who they picked up? Who's a solid back to go with Pierce? Who did Houston get? Help me, somebody.
Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon from Cincinnati. They traded.
Sorry, I was on mute. I was trying to tell you. I was like, why are you not listening to me?
I was blanking, dude. I mean, what is the best undercover signing? And I'm going to ask all you guys that at running back.
I don't know if you'd say it's undercover, but I just think Josh Jacobs going to Green Bay is probably the best fit. You have, I think, the second youngest team in the NFL. Offensive line is very, very young and talented. And just to see how Jordan Love evolved and what drove that team later on in the season is when Aaron Jones came back. So now you're throwing a guy, you're basically taking out the same player and plugging in Jones. They're two in the same. I think Jacobs can be a little bit more durable, but you put him in that system, I just think in the way Jordan Love came alive, I just think that is probably the best fit of any running backs that you have that made the move. Just because the progression that Green Bay made during the season, you don't see that very often. The first half of the season, it looked doom and gloom for them, and then you saw what happened. They gave Dallas just mollywop Dallas, and but I think their trajectory is very good. But the one that I'm not confident in, and it's the highest profile, and it's Saquon Barkley. You know, there's a lot of heat on him for going to the Giants, but I think people forget he is from Philadelphia. He's from an hour away from there, so he's going home. So I don't blame him for that. But how durable is he going to be? You're losing probably the greatest center to ever play the game, so your offensive line is going to be a little bit different. So it's going to rely on Jalen Hurts there, and we all know Saquon Barkley is not the most dependable when it comes to health. So that one might not work out as well as Eagles Nation's hopes. But I like Josh Jacobs to the Packers, even though they're in my division.
You guys, one name, Rob and Chain, one name, running back. Who you like?
For me, Henry to Baltimore puts them equal, if not the favorites, in the AFC.
I agree with you. Chain?
Yeah. To be honest, I really like the Jacobs thing as well. I think he's AJ Dillon and Jones combined in one, like instead of them switching out. I think that's a good deal. And Green Bay, late in the season, they really started coming on. So I think that's really going to push them forward. He was just no offense, but he was in a bad system with the Raiders. So yeah. I think he's super talented. Obviously, the talent is there and it shows, and he's getting paid for it. So I think it's a great fit.
Raj, you're being the host, so you don't get to answer many questions, but I want to ask you this question to get your opinion on it. This running back kind of carousel, and is this the byproduct of them all realizing we've got to take as much money as we can and these few contracts as we get, and fit be damned, city be damned, rivalry be damned, we just got to get that check?
I think so. I think it's a matter of, like Brandon said, the increased cap. 2-3 years ago, running backs were the least valued skill position in the game. I think only tight end and specialists were paid less. Obviously, they have the shortest career span. A guy like, in terms of relative to touching the ball, a guy like McCaffrey is what percentage of the Niners offense and makes only that much. Calvin Ridley makes more per year. But yeah, it was interesting, sort of led by, and then you said it yourself, Henry getting paid less than these guys. But it started with Saquon, and he kind of set the market, and guys just started jumping ship and not signing, the tag and getting 3-year incentive laden deals. And the market changed. And I know I'm kind of a roundabout answer to your question. But as you guys know, I was shocked by that. Like, I didn't really have an answer to that. A guy like Austin Eckler, who leads the NFL in touchdowns the last, 3-4 years, getting pawned off to Washington, who doesn't have a quarterback at this point for nothing. So I don't know.
He was one of the cheapest running backs to get traded or, signed. I mean, $5 million a year. It's like, it's crazy.
Insane. I mean, DeAndre Swift seems like he got more. I don't know for sure.
3 at 24. He got 8 a year.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Well, if y'all remember back around this time, maybe last year, 2 years ago, I can't remember how long we were doing the show, but there was the running back.
They wanted to unionize.
Yeah, they wanted to unionize and just their position. And you're seeing why.
Yeah, that was last season.
Yeah, you're seeing
because it was Jacobs and Barkley were threatening to hold out.
Yeah,
based on what they felt they were unfairly paid.
Yeah,
You still think they need to, Rob? You're seeing why, but I'm saying.
Oh yeah, no. I absolutely see. Yeah, they definitely need to. Like, yeah, I mean, it's impossible for them to, but yeah, I mean,
I think our new structure with running backs is you're going to see a lot more short-term deals and a lot of movement because they're going to sit in a system and they're not going to like it, or they do love it and they'll re-sign, but they're not going to like it after 2 years, 3 years, and they're going somewhere else.
well, and
they're becoming independent
and
contractors.
none of them
They
were
need security.
franchised. I didn't even hear
No
any
tax.
of them being even negotiated.
Not even a question.
Yeah,
No, not even a question.
We're not paying
because
that.
It's plug and play, like with your draft picks, and I mean, you need someone to go through a whole, like if you got a great offensive line. I mean, I'm not degrading running backs by any means because they take some of the most brutal punishment in the NFL, but you can literally grab a running back off, the 6th round and throw him in there.
Well,
no, he's not going to be Derrick Henry or McCaffrey.
Look at A-Chain. Look at A-Chain in Miami. What was he, a 5th or 6th round pick?
Exactly. You get big holes from big offensive linemen and you got any speed to you. I mean, you're going to get to the 2nd level. It's just it's unfortunate, but.
Well, the parallel would be, Zach Edey in college basketball for Purdue. The guy's 7'4", can shoot free throws, gets fouled every time. When we were growing up, that guy would be the number 1 draft pick in the NBA. Now he may not even get drafted at all. Like that's
right.
Like it just
he might be in G League.
Yeah. Quick story, a buddy of mine, his grandmother, the 1985 Lakers were 86 or 7 rather. We're coming back from Boston after winning the championship. She didn't know the players, so she wanted to get an autograph for my boy, and she just picked the tallest one, and that was Chuck Nevitt, who was 7'6", who
and a former Detroit Piston.
Only you would know about, who did not have a long career with Kareem and Worthy and Magic and AC Green and Michael Cooper. She picked Chuck Nevitt. So being the tallest isn't always
He had a hell of a mustache.
The best thing. Yeah, dude. He
Real quick, Raj, on the running back thing. You mentioned Devin Singletary earlier. Now he's going to the Giants where Brian Daboll is their coach. He was very successful 2 seasons ago in Buffalo when Daboll was offensive coordinator. So that could be, your question earlier, that could be kind of a sneaky pick if they get the quarterback situation right, whether it be via draft or if they trust Daniel Jones. So we'll see. But I that is a good signing for them.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got Hyatt, the Tennessee Volunteer. He's ready to break out. They fleeced Carolina, getting Brian Burns. They got John Runyon for the offensive line. Lemonor from the Raiders, who actually became a pretty versatile piece. Singletary. Jalen Mills at safety. They did a lot of great things. Again, aside Isaiah McKenzie, Pro Bowl returner. Aside from already paying Daniel Jones, and they got rid of Saquon. I think that was brilliant. He was overpaid, and the media was always on him for the wrong reasons, and that's New York City, and you don't want that to happen. I want to finish up here with a couple more questions involving the NFL draft. Rob, how does the draft change, not only by these signings, but by Justin Fields still being in Chicago? We're looking at the draft order now. What happens with Fields? The Falcons at 8 now have a quarterback. We've talked about others. What about the Patriots? What about, Tennessee? What's happening here? What are the ramifications of what we've seen over the last 10 days? Starting with Fields, please.
Yeah, I think the NFL just called Chicago's bluff is what I think happened. And because maybe Fields gets traded on draft day, but if I'm New England or Washington, I'm happy where I'm at. I'm not betting the farm to move up because I'm calling Chicago's bluff. You're really going to have Fields and Williams on the same team? And then what does that do to a locker room? And what if Williams doesn't get it right away? That's just bad karma. So I like where New England's at. I don't think the Falcons, were in the mood. I think things kind of settled with this quarterback moves. The Falcons are good. Pittsburgh seems to be good. I'm not sure if they're good or not. They think they're good. The Raiders now still could be wild card. I don't know if they have any collateral to move though. So if I'm Chicago, I'm looking at this even with two picks in the top 10, I'm worried about this draft.
I agree with you. Yeah, they definitely don't have leverage, to say the least, at this point. As a Raider fan, I love Minshew's signing. He is kind of like an old Raider, just the mustache. I don't give a shit type of dude. I'd love to see them get Fashanu. I may pronounce his name wrong. The big dude from Penn State that need help on the line. But actually, if they got J.J. McCarthy, because I think this is going to trickle down quarterbacks, I'd be stoked on that. Tom, which quarterback is going to be most affected by this recent activity? I think Drake May is a guy that I am not thrilled with. I don't think Nix goes in the first and Penix has a better chance. Of those guys, though, who do you think, I don't want to say falls the furthest, but with Fitz and everything, who's affected the most?
It might be Caleb Williams. I think all indications were he was going to be the number one pick. And now that these kind of spots where you thought Justin Fields was going to go are now filled, that to me tells me that the Bears have to move this pick. I think they'll get a good draft capital for it. Having that number 9 pick helps them. So I feel like they're not going to be the team to go after Caleb Williams. And really, he hasn't met with anybody. So I'm not sure if he's not the one that kind of falls in that situation. So, and yes, May hasn't kind of wowed anybody. I think his draft stock has kind of dropped a little bit. But again, I don't think he falls further than out of the top 5, because you look at in this draft coming up in the order, who needs a quarterback? Obviously New England. Washington needs a quarterback. Do the Giants, do they trust
the steadiest place, with Kyler? They don't seem to have.
That's a lot of money they paid for him, and he's a head case. You're going to draft a guy in the first round, and how's that going to affect his mindset? So, the Giants, and you look at 12. The Broncos absolutely need a quarterback. So
Vikings 11.
Yeah, and if I'm the Bears, I'm going to reach out to the Broncos and be like, okay, well, I have this pick. I know you need something that I have the ability to make happen for you. So I think they do have leverage when it comes to the draft positioning. I think they're sitting in a good place. So
when's the last time unloading a bunch of draft capital to pick a quarterback has worked out, though?
It's a tough pill to swallow, because you look at who does this. Which kind of teams do this? They're teams that are quarterback needy. So what happens? They get plugged right in. They get thrown to the wolves, so to speak. And their careers, either take a while to evolve or never do. Look at Bryce Young last year. All indications where he was the next big thing. They draft him number 1, they plug him in, and he was an absolute disaster. Not to the fault of his own. That's just a terrible football team. But you have to be careful how much you're willing to give up for that next quarterback, because it's a high risk, low reward when it comes to those kind of situations. But I take a quarterback like JJ. I know I'm a bit of a homer here, but I think he has the intangibles. I think he has the right mental fortitude to draft high and sit him. Sit him for 2 years. Let him learn the game. Let him understand the game. Let him have the game come to him, because I think he will benefit from that a lot, like Green Bay Packer quarterbacks that we're seeing. Jordan Love, the third one, has kind of evolved. And what happened there? They learned the game. So I think a quarterback like that could be successful as long as you don't throw him into the mix. So, and the same can be said for a lot of these guys, but athletically, I do believe Caleb Williams has got it, but where's the mental fortitude? And we had this argument last week, Raj, and we were at different stances in it, and I understand that, but I don't. I think he's amazing. What he did 2 years ago was remarkable, but I didn't like what I saw last year. But we're not going to beat a dead horse. But I think he's the one that has the potential to kind of slide a little bit more than the rest.
All Raj needs to worry about with his Raiders is that Joe Milton can throw an orange 80 yards. That's true. The Raiders are drafted Joe Milton. I promise you that.
That's what got us Jamarcus Russell, the number 1 overall pick.
You want nothing to do with Joe Milton, right, Robbie?
Oh, yeah. Stay away. I saw some things in the combine. They're like, oh, he's throwing a perfect ball. No. Stay away.
He doesn't throw that pretty ball in the game. Trust me. He didn't do it here at Michigan.
Into the third row of the seats. And the most famous, a lot for the little draft capital was, of course, the Herschel Walker trade, Dallas, that involved 18 players in the end. And, Emmitt Smith, Russell Maryland, Michael Irvin, all these guys. Darren Woodson ended up going to Dallas. So rarely does that work out. Finally, Chain, I think the Houston Texans have improved the most. Am I right? And Robbie, your question is going to be who's improved the least. Now, I'm going to say this real quick. Last year, the NFL.com, the sports writer said Pittsburgh improved the most, and the Rams, who made the playoffs, had improved the least post-draft with Nakua and Kyron Williams. So grain of salt, but Chain, you're a positive guy, so who improved the most? Am I right with Houston? Rob, you're a pessimistic guy like me. We're cynical. Who has basically taken the biggest dump? Chain, you go first.
Yeah, it's definitely Houston, in my opinion. The rich get richer. They raise the salary cap. They're making all kinds of off-season moves. And, nothing crazy. Hunter, $49 million, I think, is their biggest sign.
Nico Autry. They signed 28.
Oh, dude, yeah. They signed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, Autry is, one of my favorite players. That was one of a huge signing for us, playing alongside Simmons. So D'Amico's going to be great there.
Again, another Titan linebacker.
Dude, we just swap players around the AFC. Why does it seems like it's only the AFC that does this, that we trade in division instead of sending them out of division. But no, they're in great shape, man, and they're going to be good in the draft again. They're scary. They're scary.
I agree with you. And that division is very winnable, as we know.
The other 3 teams, well, aside from Jacksonville, but the rest of us are in shambles in the AFC South. The Colts and Titans are full rebuild.
I know Tom's going to say the Lions. Rob, Harold had mentioned the Cowboys. They did get Eric Kendricks. They did sign a long snapper, but who's lost the most? Who is basically going to be worse off next year thus far, based on free agency?
Oh, this is the easiest question I've ever been asked in my life. Denver is just terrible as a franchise. They are paying Russell Wilson $38 million to not play for them. They're paying Sean Payton $12 million to coach for them, who they have no roster. That's $50 million just lit on fire. every year, just per year before they even take the field. They're picking 12th. I mean, might as well. Who was that giant quarterback? Osweiler or Ostetler? Might as well bring
Rothweiler.
Osweiler. Yeah, bring him back from retirement. Let him get sacked some. The Broncos and you're in the toughest division in football. They are just a train wreck. You got Harbaugh coming in. You have the Chiefs, and like it's just terrible. Like they're so bad and just a disaster. Like which was a great organization, and then it's just crumbled. Just bad decision after bad decision. And yeah, Seattle probably toast every night to the Broncos being effing morons.
Yeah, there's still more to come. And, first round pick Jerry Jeudy was shipped off for nothing. And arguably, well, not their best. Surtain the third is their best secondary, but one of the best safeties in the league. And Justin Simmons in the AFC West was cut, a byproduct of this. So it makes me happy. I'm not going to lie. What about another team that isn't fucked? Excuse my language. Like Denver is, a lot of ups and downs. The Dolphins lost Wilkins and Xavier Howard, I believe, and some others. Is there anyone else that sticks out to you that kind of dropped the ball, should have re-signed a guy or two? Anyone? And that goes for all of you guys. If you've got somebody that is a loser.
Well, I think you kind of brushed on it a minute ago. I think the Dallas Cowboys, them absolutely doing nothing but what James Thomas said, a long snapper. Yeah, woohoo! Jerry's World's probably jumping for joy for that. But seeing what Green Bay did to them defensively last year in the playoffs, and that was their bread and butter.
In Dallas.
That's what they held their hat on for most of that season last year, was their ability to just get after the quarterback and ball hawk. And they got abused, and they got abused early and often, and they did nothing to address that. So let's not also forget here. News came out today that Dak Prescott's under investigation for an alleged assault back in 2017. How is that going to affect them? It's a contract year for him. There's a lot of dead cap space that they're going to be presented with if they don't extend him. So I think the Cowboys are in a lot of trouble. And you look at that division. You look at what the Eagles, have potential to do. You look at what the Commanders went out and spent a lot of money this year. They brought in a lot of pieces. And so you just wonder where they're going to fall in that NFC East. But and they brought back Mike McCarthy, which I don't understand at all, other than Jerry Jones is just overly loyal, and he just doesn't like firing, or he doesn't like paying. He doesn't like paying coaches. Yes.
Like 10 years ago, and they lost arguably their best coach and defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn, who became a head coach. So, I agree with you there. It's ironic that Jones, a guy like throwing money at everybody, hasn't done anything yet. And
I heard a little rumor today that there's potential for Jerry Jones to sell the Cowboys. That little bugaboo came out today that there's grumblings, and
he franchise in NFL.
He could get a king's ransom for that team. He's not doing what he needs to do to put the right team on that field. So maybe it is time for a regime change in Dallas, because it's just they're one and dones or missing the playoffs. It's just ain't getting it with those fans in Cowboy Nation. So
I want to get Rob back up. I agree, and I'm not going to go down this slippery slope, but more drama with an occurrence was Aaron Rodgers supposedly drunkenly discussing the conspiracy theory was the most awful tragedy in Sandy Hook. We're not going to go down that route, but
we're not.
Just generally a fairly intelligent individual from Berkeley, but
He's
meaning that
not.
he's educated, not whacked. But what the fuck, dude?
He's not. He didn't graduate from Berkeley. He got into Berkeley because he played football.
He was actually the coach at the time was what's his name? The 49ers coach.
Tedford.
Yeah, he actually went there to look at an offensive lineman at Butte Community, wherever it was, and ended up seeing Rodgers accidentally. So let's just leave it at that. Just speaking of dumb shit from the past that may haunt people. But moving on, Rob, I want you to take over because you brought up this topic in terms of a game changer. And we were talking about women's basketball, not necessarily versus men, but, you know, a changing of the guard, as our producer extraordinaire has there with Caitlyn Clark. By the way, as a Laker fan, I know it's meant as a tribute, but the Kobe Bryant recreation photo after winning the Big Ten tourney, not exactly after winning a championship without Shaq and the first time after losing to the Celtics in 7 games the year before, but I digress. What did you mean by this? And is this the time to strike for women's basketball? Are they doing enough? Do they have to do enough? But explain what you mean by changing of the guard in women's hoops.
Yeah, so a couple things. So I was lucky enough to be a student at UT when Candace Parker was there, who was the biggest star at the time. And at that time, Lady Vols basketball was the pinnacle of women's college basketball. So I saw what that felt like, and I saw Candace walking around, and I was witness that. It's nothing like this. And then as a people that live in Tennessee, we all know the Lady Vol basketball is a power. And then we saw UConn with Diana Taurasi, with the people that followed her. Again, it's nothing like this. It is nothing like Caitlyn Clark. There are lines around the building, and I don't know. And I didn't plan on even putting this connection together, but Raj, what you just said, kind of, and I don't want to make it more than it is, but I think for people our age, who loved Kobe, who admired Kobe, who got this girl dad, and who saw what Gigi was, and either whether it's subconsciously or not, these girls playing basketball and how pure it can be, and it's not just making it NBA, it's playing basketball. And I will bet you whatever money makes you uncomfortable, if Iowa makes it to the Final Four, they're going to be, I think, on ABC. The men's Final Four is on TNT or TBS. I bet the women's Final Four with Iowa outrates the men on TBS. If Iowa makes it. And that's what I mean by changing the guard. Is this different? Is she different? She's going to be – Indiana has the number 1 pick in the WNBA draft.
Oh, they're already selling season tickets. They're already selling out.
Sold out. Yeah, and then when they go to LA, when they come to Atlanta, when they come to DC, like
it's like Messi. It's like Messi coming to Miami to play soccer. So basically the gist of this conversation that we had, and I sent a clip of a podcast. Kevin Garnett was talking that for the first time ever, he knows more women in basketball than men, and he admitted as much, that he's following the women's game more than the men's, just because the excitement level. And yes, you have all these crazy fans going for Caitlyn Clark, and what she did is incredible. But on the flip side, you look at, and it's now highlighting some of the other great athletes that play in women's college basketball. And you saw
I gotta say, number 2 in the country in
here
scoring.
it comes.
She's a freshman. She is
Yep.
sensational.
I told you guys in the meeting Monday he was going to mention her, but he's right. He's absolutely right. And
He was just on the cover of Slam magazine. DeMar DeRozan's rocking the shirt. She is a player, and I sent you guys a clip of. I mean, she's as smooth as they come. She's a different player than Clark, not just a pure shooter, but she's a crossover first step. Single dribble fade. All parts of her game back to the basket, get to the basket. She's just sensational. She's the truth, man.
So two things that I think are driving this. And you mentioned the players earlier, Rob. And what did they not have that we have today? Social media. This is
and they didn't go to Tennessee or UConn. That's what makes her so great. Because if you
stayed home,
UConn, you're just
stayed home
plug in that process.
So you have
Cameron Brink is a tall, blonde individual who represents herself in different ways, fashion, and and that type of thing with social media. And you're absolutely right.
You have that where the name kind of explodes and everybody wants to see this. And next thing you know, her jersey's flying off the shelf. And here's another one I was thinking a little bit outside the box. How much has the kind of draw to women's athletics, how much is that can be attested to? You're going to like this, Robbie, to Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is responsible for putting so many millions of new eyeballs on football.
Well, Tom, look at the graphic. Look at what she's doing. She's doing the Taylor Swift heart.
Yeah, right, exactly. So now, not only do these girls are paying attention to the Chiefs per se, to Taylor's boyfriend, but they're paying attention to Caitlyn Clark because it's all over social media. She trends every time she plays. So now these Swifties that are following football are like, you mean we can get behind somebody of our own gender who's an actual superstar, who is incredible? Like, I just think that's an undershoot of the Taylor Swift effect that kind of goes unnoticed with these women.
That's a great point. It's just
it really is.
It just as far as like, these girls turning on ESPN, like, I want to see the Taylor Travis. What happens next? Oh, here's Caitlyn Clark doing crazy things. Oh, I like her too, and how that snowballs.
Yep.
So, as an SC guy, I'm pretty stoked leaving the idiotic Pac-12. We can't market jack shit for the Big Ten, and where Caitlyn Clark was. So I think Juju's going to get a lot more. Last question, notoriety rather. Shane, golf actually made sort of a switch as well with the mixed team event last year with the Grant Thornton inaugural invitational. Is it just kind of different for golf, or can it mirror what college basketball has done? Do you see that happening? What's this event like?
I think it's like a one-off thing. It's more of a publicity stunt, in my opinion. Golf is even like this is one of the biggest problems with like the whole live versus PGA is the team versus solo. Like golf at its purest form, I mean, it's you against you. Like there's no team, there's no help. It's just you and your caddy or whatever out there. So to strip that away and try to turn it into some. Now you have the Ryder Cup, you have the President's Cup, which is, a simulated team event. But it's still individual play in a sense. But yes, you have a team and that's how you win. But those are just one-off deals to get fans excited and involved. And those events are fun. I've been to a Ryder Cup, one of the best golf live tournaments I've been to. I'm excited about the Live Tour coming. That's going to be great as well to see. But I still like just if you play golf, you know and you understand you're not really necessarily playing against anyone else but yourself in the course. So it's If they strip that away, that'll be awful. I wouldn't want to watch it. That's why you have basketball and other team sports. I mean, golf is completely its own thing, separate from all that. So that's fine.
I agree. It kind of feels like a pro-am feeling, so to speak. And I don't mean any misogynistic undertone there. Just how it's been marketed, and this was done sort of before the Swift effect, if you will. So maybe this changes. I don't know.
No, I mean, listen. I like it. I don't knock those off tournaments or anything, but it doesn't affect the actual season of golf and like what that is, right? So as long as they can have these tournaments and these programs and do all this, teams or interchanging whatever they want to do for more for entertainment value. But the actual sport of golf is still in its core. It's the solo guy or girl versus the other ones. So I don't think that will ever change. I hope not, anyway.
Agree entirely. We're going to close out with college basketball. This is championship week. I think there's a lot of clear favorites. There's been a few. Last night, Stephen F. Austin with a buzzer beater game winner, which is pretty crazy.
Oakland U winning the Horizon. They're dancing.
Oakland, Michigan. Oakland, always a tough team
Great
who
Campy.
plays everyone. And yes, they are the Horizon League champions. But let's go. We're in the South and the best overall athletic conference. The SEC. This is a crazy year for the tournament where literally any team, in my opinion, could win it. Tennessee's the 1 seed, Kentucky the 2, the 3 is it Auburn or Auburn's the 4? Hold on, I had it pulled
Alabama's
up.
the 3rd.
Alabama's the 3, excuse me. Auburn the 4, I think Florida, and then South Carolina. They're all in the mix. Those top 6 have all kind of beaten each other, except for UT more or less. But, Florida leads the conference, even though one guy has more than 3 assists. Or no, Auburn does. Trey Donaldson has 3.2 assists. But they lead the conference in assists and assist-to-turnover ratio. You see a lot of balanced teams, and then you see teams like Tennessee who, it ebbs and flows with Dalton Connect. Rob, who is the biggest threat to Tennessee other than the Kentucky Wildcats?
I think it's Alabama. But this, if it goes chalk, Auburn on Saturday is going to be a tough matchup just because Bruce Pearl gets his team up to play. But I think Alabama's got like Nate Oates' style. I think it's very tough to play against, even though Tennessee's beat them twice. But that's still like it's hard to beat a good team 3 times. So I think that's the toughest thing. If I'm Tennessee, I'd rather see Kentucky than Alabama because Kentucky's not going to shoot 51% again from 3. I don't think. We beat them in their gym. They beat us in our gym. I mean, until I'm proven wrong this year, my stance is we've got Dalton Connect and you guys don't. And that's my confidence level because, man, he is a stud.
He's amazing. Now, one statistic I saw was that I can't remember if it was 26 or 30, but when he scores that amount, the Vols are 3 and 2. And you saw Kentucky kind of let him eat and take away other guys. People have done that with Sears and Bama.
Yeah.
Is that Tennessee's not weakness per se, but Vescovi's not the shooter he was. Ziegler is just because he's nails, but is that Tennessee's biggest weakness, or is there something else?
Well, so yes, and that's a very great point. Tennessee's is at its best when connects at about 18 to 20 because we don't need him going for 4. We have too many good players around him to go for 40. He can and he will, but that's not what we want to be playing. We want him resting. We want him, getting his minutes, playing. Because look, I mean, yeah. So Auburn dared him, hey, you beat us alone, and he did.
Yeah.
Kentucky did the same thing, but they're like, we're better than Auburn. We have better players than Auburn does, and so we'll let you wear yourself out. You go for 40, that's fine, and we have 4 other guys that can score, and so it's gonna be that kind of balance and really that kind of thing. And like Raj, as we're both huge college basketball fans. This week and the next month is the biggest anxiety ridden month. If your team is good, because
Not for me.
yeah, not for you, no. But if your team is good, all it takes is one bad night and it's over. It's not the NBA, it's not best out of 3, it's one bad night and it's over. And so yeah, so people are like, oh, you must have gray hair because you practice law. No, I have gray hair because I'm a Tennessee fan.
Especially basketball fan.
Yeah.
True or false, the second most important player for Tennessee basketball is Jonas Adu.
False. The second most important player is Josiah Jordan James.
Really?
He's got when he's open, he's got to shoot, and he's got to take the ball to the rim and be aggressive. Adu, I think, is going to get his points. He is progressed enough where he's got a great left hand shot now.
I'm more worried about defense and foul trouble and front court depth behind him.
I could go on for days on. In the tournament, they should switch to 6 fouls. It's too important to get.
It is way too. It impacts the game. You get too early. You don't see a guy till the half. It is such nonsense, and to rely upon those refs, some of them doing 3 games in a day, it's ridiculous. I absolutely agree.
So a little bit of breaking news. Little bit of breaking news in the NFL world. Per our astute Brandon Chain, Keenan Allen has been traded to the Chicago Bears. Keenan Allen to the NFC North Chicago Bears. Another reason why the Lions are heavy in defense in this draft. But continue.
Well,
just wanted to get that in there. Continue.
Real quick, Tom. Jim Harbaugh's gotten rid of Eckler and Keenan Allen, the 2 biggest producers. Is this just him putting in his guys and
Mike Williams?
And Mike Williams.
And Mike Williams.
Can answer that quickly. What are your thoughts on that?
It could be, but I don't want to keep Robbie going. This is his wheelhouse. So big news. Big news.
Yeah,
it is big news.
I just want to comment on the people that text in. Harold said that Zakai Ziegler is the second biggest piece of Tennessee. Well, yeah, obviously. But the question was, who has to step up? Because Zakai and Dalton are going to come every night.
They're the most reliable guys by far. Yeah.
Well, that's the whole facilitation of that offense and everything, right? Like Ziegler, like he's the key factor, being the point guard.
Well,
so
college basketball is driven by guard play.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I agree. And speaking of, it's funny that if you look at the statistics, Texas A&M probably has arguably the best backcourt. Not really, but I thought they'd be much better with Taylor and Radford, I believe. But they've been pretty crappy overall in all the statistics for guards. But Florida has been outstanding and very surprising. I think Florida's a dangerous team. A lot of balance there. Am I right? Or now they were 14-1 in Gainesville. So that's the caveat. But I can see this team doing some damage. Am I right, or am I taking crazy pills per usual?
No, Florida is dangerous. Florida is they're well coached. They mix it up on defense. They can throw a lot of things at you. Yeah, the home court aspect of it is real, but that's real for almost everything. Every team, like especially it's college sports. Atmospheres matter. I think they're going to be probably a 7-10, one of those 8-9 7-10s, which you do not want to see them in that bracket if you're a 2 or a 1 seed. I could see someone like Arizona facing them and not wanting any part of that.
No, man, those are guards. I always look at veteran guards and leaders, and they're three big guards. I think they have 4 or 5 guys that average 9 points or more. I'm a big fan of balance, and Florida's got it. They were statistically, and I had everything in front of me, but they were up there rebounding, I believe, and just a number of things where they were very balanced. And I was looking at, wow, that's a team to look out for. I believe that A&M right now is playing well, and I believe they're kicking Ole Miss's ass, or they already won. They can get hot, especially with those guards. I was going to think of another huge threat. Alabama has been very inconsistent. They are number 1 in offense in the SEC at 90 points per game, but they are last in defense. I think Tennessee can lock them down and play at their tempo. Am I right, Tom, Shane, either of you guys that have watched some SEC? I don't think Bama wants – I think Tennessee would want Bama over Kentucky. And you think I am wrong. Tell me why. You kind of mentioned this.
Oh,
Rob,
me? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll start with Rob, and if you guys have any thoughts on anybody else in the SEC.
Well, I mean, I just think there's a confidence level. Look, we beat Alabama by 20 in Knoxville. We beat them by, I think, 10 in Tuscaloosa. There's just this, and Nate Oates. Look, it still blows my mind. We're just simply a year away from Alabama's 5-star second or third pick in the draft bringing a gun to the side of somebody who shoots somebody else and kills them, and nothing ever happens. But that's Alabama sports for you. But
I knew that was coming.
But I mean, it blows my mind. But anyways, Nate Oates is still allowed to coach there. He's still a little cocky SOB, and Rick Barnes put him in his place again. I want Kentucky. I want Kentucky. I want them to be motivated. I want best on best, and because that's what you're going to face in the NCAA tournament. And if you beat Kentucky and you win the SEC championship, you're getting a 1 seed, and whether it's out west or it's probably going to be out west. I will fly. Raj, you have a place for me to stay out in LA?
I do have a few, yeah.
Okay.
You're more than welcome to crash.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. You probably own them now already, but I do have multiple places to stay. I think that Auburn is a dangerous matchup for Tennessee in the next round. Jalen Williams, I thought he was done for a long time. Him and Broome are just beasts, and they can present a big problem. Streaky shooting on the outside, but again, a lot of assists. They move the basketball. If Tennessee loses, Tom, do they still get a 1 seed if they lose in the SEC tournament?
I don't think so. What are they right now? 4? Robbie?
They are a number.
They're
they're
the number 1 seed right now.
I don't know how much the committee loves Tennessee. I think they're a really good basketball team.
Remember, we are the school that killed the NCAA. So
right. So, and let me premise this by saying I admit I watched my very first basketball game of the season last Saturday, Duke, North Carolina. So I haven't really followed a whole lot with college basketball. Hey, when this team behind me,
what do we pay you for?
well, you pay me for the visuals and the looks.
Yeah.
Uh,
Fair enough.
Ask my predecessor. I'll leave that at that. But anyways, when this team is god awful and refuses to fire the problem as to why they're a 12 and like 25 team, I have no rooting interest in college basketball. So I am kind of piggybacking off you, Robbie, and I'm pulling for Tennessee, but no, I mean, I think if they lose, and I guess it all comes down to if they get to the finals of the tournament and how, if they lose, was it close? Was it an overtime game? I guess the way they lose will dictate whether or not they get a 1 seed. But if they don't come out with that championship, my guess is their chances of a 1 are probably out the window. But again, it's the tournament. Does a 1 seed really matter? I mean, in this day and age, so
no, you don't want to be that one that gets taken down by
Virginia or yeah.
We've mentioned it before. The committee loves to get cute and vindictive, and Tennessee had the nuts to stand up to them. I could see them putting them a 1 out west and Arizona a 2. And I would much rather be a 2 somewhere else closer to home where Vol Nation easily travels, although they travel everywhere somehow. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Rob, last question. 2 questions. Number 1, when Tennessee does not make the Final Four, will this hurt more than the Schofield and Grant Williams team? Or is this question erroneous, irrelevant, as Tennessee will be in the Final Four? Your gut thoughts. I don't want you to be bold, and I know we're all fairly superstitious, but I joke, but does Tennessee make the Final Four?
Of course.
I will not go that far. I will say this. If they do not make the Final Four, yes, it will hurt worse than the Grant and Admiral year. Or
worse than last year when you went to New York and saw them lose.
Yeah.
You're enjoying that too much, Tom.
Yeah, so this is the Billy Bean in me, right? Like, I'm just trying to win the last game of the year as a fan. Never done it, so be excited. No, this will be the biggest disappointment, and I want to piggyback off that. I'll ask myself an own question after this response. It will be the biggest disappointment because Dalton Connect is that good. He is NBA ready. He is smooth. He there's no injuries. There's healthy. Vesky's got to play better. We got all 7-8 core people there. Yes. So I hate to say Final Four bust because, as us basketball fans know, this is a fickle tournament.
Mm-hmm.
But yes,
football fans think that, and they'll want to fire Barnes idiotically.
Yes, that
just
look
what he did with Dalton Connect, But hey, let's fire his ass.
That's Tennessee fans in general. Yes. No offense, Robbie, but they are quick to light the barn on fire.
And that was gonna be the follow up to Raj. My own follow up question was gonna be to you idiot Tennessee fans who even mention, just even if you even think it, Barnes isn't the right coach. Stop. Just literally go outside, get a bucket of water, and put your head in it because you're fucking stupid. And because we have had the best run in Tennessee basketball history, it's a tough tournament, and literally, yes, take your head in a bucket of water and stick your head in it.
It's very comparable to MLB, right? Like when you get into the playoffs, in these kind of situations, it's not the best team that always wins. It's last shot, a half court miracle shot. Like, it's just crazy. It's madness for a reason, and that's what's so fun. And that's the only time, unless Ohio State, which they're not a basketball school, really, unless they're doing well. I really don't watch during the season, but this time's always fun. Um, you know, Robbie always makes his trips to Nashville and watches the Vols and all the SEC tournaments. So, but I'm looking forward to March Madness, man. It's a great time. If you can get to a casino or a sports book, that is the best time.
Yes.
But even just a couple buddies at a bar, it's always fun. So
Yes.
The last thing I'll say about Barnes is in college basketball, it's about personal and player development, turning young men into student athletes into men. And just speaking basketball wise, I mean, Barnes does that on and off the court. But if you think Dalton Connect showed up from Northern Colorado as that complete of a player on both sides of the basketball, you're nuts.
Right.
Zakai Ziegler, barely a 3-star. Look at him and look at him as a person. He finds kids that fit. Good character, hardworking kids that get better. He is a basketball coach in the truest sense of the term. If you want him fired and you think freaking Steve Kerr's going to come from the Warriors, you are a moron. He is a hell of a coach. The tournament
Head
is very
fine bucket of
fickle.
water.
Exactly. Let's do the bucket. I'd probably go even stronger, but
that's
say
well
la
said,
vie.
Raj. Well said.
Yeah.
Finally, rapid fire conference winners. You guys want a part of this or just Rob and I?
Yep. I have no idea.
Tom, you want to? I'll ask you a quick question. Purdue, is it a guaranteed Big Ten win, or can Illinois or Nebraska show up, or somebody else and give them a run?
I think Illinois wins the Big Ten tournament.
Rob, is he right?
I don't think Purdue does. Hey, Michigan State won tonight. Watch out for them.
Hey, Ohio State beat Iowa. Woo-woo.
Yeah, Ohio State too.
They played well since the turn. I agree.
Since they
Illinois
fired
has a lot
Holtman,
of
yeah.
pieces that are healthy, and another guy, Terrence Shannon, who didn't do a great thing and somehow is still playing. But I digress. SEC, I'm going to ask all four of you. Tennessee wins the SEC tournament. True or false? I say false. It's Kentucky. Brandon?
I think it's Tennessee. It's a big position. Here's my scenario. What I'm seeing. I think they win the SEC tournament, and I don't think they make the Final Four.
Yeah, I think they would lose here and then kind of step up in the NCAA tournament. But I
That's
also would
just reckless
probably pick
speculation.
Kentucky right now to be in the Final Four. But we're going rapid fire. So, Tom, Tennessee wins the SEC tournament.
I think they do, and it's Broadway's going to be wild. You're going to be just a redneck roundup down Broadway. You got Big Blue and against Big Orange. Yeah, give me the Vols.
Robbie, you have to wear that hat to the game.
I paid $1,200 for 2 tickets on Saturday. Kentucky, Tennessee is going to be $1,000 a ticket on Sunday. Vols win. We have Dalton Connect. They do not.
Love it. Big 12, Rob. We'll just go you and I.
Yeah. Kansas
is just derailed. Who do you think wins that tournament?
Man, Houston's tough right now. Hey, is it gonna be tough to play in the Big 12? No, we'll just dominate them. Houston's gonna win it.
Dude, I mean, Iowa State right now kind of came out of nowhere, and they're the biggest threat on paper. Kansas, it just got annihilated by Cincinnati. Half their team is dead. Baylor, BYU, nothing. It's Houston. Defensively, I believe the best team in the country, led by Jamal Sheed, who is or Shed, I can't remember the pronunciation. Just an exceptional player.
Yeah, he's the best. Like he's the point guard of the year ahead of Ziegler. Yeah.
He is the most significant player, probably other than Edey, in the game right now. What about the Pac? I think it's Arizona, although Washington State's playing well today, but I'm saying Arizona. Anyone disagree?
No.
USC beat them by 15. 5 days ago, they lost 70-49 today. The Mountain West, dude, this is as good of a conference as there is in the country. They are going to get a lot of teams in. Robbie, do you have a take? Is Utah State, San Diego State, Boise State?
Did San Diego State beat UNLV today?
I'm checking because I just got back from baseball practice. I believe UNLV had some really good wins.
Oh, yeah. San Diego State won by 3.
Okay. UNLV lost to Southern. They lost
Nevada's
to
down
really
big.
bad.
I think
are they really?
Whew, you know what?
Nevada
Give me
is
San
the
Diego
hottest team.
State going on a run here.
Yeah, and I agree because Utah State has not looked great. Boise State has split a lot. They had some bad losses. UNLV had some really bad losses. I agree. It's time for Lede and San Diego State to take over finally. The Big East. What do you think, Rob? UConn's to lose?
Yeah.
Who's the biggest threat to UConn?
Man, is St. John's is a good story. Marquette. With Creighton losing now, that's I don't know if anyone has a firepower of UConn. So yeah, I'm gonna go UConn.
Man, I think St. John's. Do they get UConn next? But yeah, they have looked amazing of late. They lost by 4 at UConn earlier in the year. They lost by 1 to Creighton. They lost to Seton Hall earlier, and they just kicked the crap out of them. They beat Creighton by 14 a couple weeks ago. So, they're playing UConn tomorrow at 5:30. So that's going to be sensational. Patino, wow, that's going to be it. And Hurley, that's going to be
we got a minute timer. We got fast talk. We got a minute timer going on here.
All right, last one. I'm just going to go straight to it. A great A10 conference with Dayton, Richmond, VCU, and your favorite, Sister Jean. Who wins that conference?
Anyone but Sister Jean.
On your way to hell, what are you going to say to her on your way to hell?
I don't necessarily hold grudges to many people, but I don't like Sister Jean. So I hope they lose. Big.
We got 20 seconds. You've got to give us more. Is it just unfair to have God on your end of your bench or what?
Yeah, I mean, she's just the worst.
On that note, folks, that's the best thing I've heard on this show ever. On that note, let's go
I think I'm
straight
gonna change
in.
my Twitter profile to anti-Sister Jean. Is my for intro of what I think.
You are the only person on earth. But outstanding. He's just the worst. Speaking of the worst, let's get into how I'm gonna do and bet your nuts.
It's time for Bet Your Nuts.
We got another Sister Jean hater here. James, not a fan of the Harry Potter grandma sitting in a wheelchair. So
I do think it's unfair.
You come down to Knoxville. Not many people like Sister Jean.
It's not her fault.
Who's worse, Hunter Dickinson or Sister Jean?
Oh, it's Hunter Dickinson. Jeez.
Oh man, there's that white kid from Purdue also, and then there's a lot of bad memories of the tournament. We hate them all.
Sounds like you're prejudiced against white people in general, but I digress.
If Sister Jean was black, I'd hate her too.
Wow. Hot take. Hot take.
Dude, Rob's on fire tonight, dude. It must be the hat. You're just like kicking in the saloon doors, like
all that hot air is getting trapped in under that hat.
Dude, I fucking
it's March Madness time. We get very sensitive in this time of year, and we got 1 o'clock tip off tomorrow.
Whatever it is, you're on fucking fire. I'm gonna go quickly. I'm gonna take St. John's plus 9.5 tomorrow against UConn. I'm riding the hot one. That didn't sound great, but Brandon Chain, we haven't heard from you in a while. Bet your nuts. What's your lock of the week?
I'm I'm going to go back to golf, the Players Championship in Florida, TPC Sawgrass. Rory's leading right now, or tied for the lead with Xander Schauffele. He's plus 450, and I really like that at this point. Having the lead, although he's been known to choke the lead a couple times, but he's playing really well right now. He's the face of the PGA Tour. He's got a lot of pressure on him. This would be a huge win. He's experienced there. I really like that number. And then a little extra cash on the side is Adberg. He's plus 2,000. He's only 2 back right now, and that dude's playing really well. So those two, I think Rory's going to wrap this one up. And then you always have to account for Scotty Scheffler, right? Like, this dude is just on fire. He's at plus 400, even though he's 2 back from the lead. He's better odds than Rory. But, throw $10 on him, $20, whatever. I would sprinkle a little bit on those 3.
Tom?
All right, I'm gonna head on to Bristol, Tennessee. That's right, folks. It's the Foodland 500.
Food City, don't be.
Food City 500. What's the difference? Same umbrella.
Wait, there is a Food Lion also.
That's right. That's right. I stand corrected. Sorry there, Robbie. Recycled man, metal man. Go ahead. I'm gonna take.
I'll take your trash and I'll make you into cash.
He's on fire today, dude.
Look for a new promo to drop next week's episode with that. Oh man, I got to get that sound bite. But anyways, back to the bets that are going to win you some money. This driver's won 3 times at Bristol in the last 15 seasons. Kyle Busch. He's sitting at plus 12 per bet MGM. I like his chances. He didn't show up last week. I think he's gonna come the race this week. Also, Tyler Reddick has really shown the last 2 weeks. He's really improved. He races well. Plus 275 to finish in the top 3 for Tyler Reddick. Good old number 45. Sorry. And then here's a futures pick. I'm eating a little cornbread, drinking a little Kool-Aid here. I think the Detroit Tigers are going to win the AL Central this year. So it'll be the Tigers and Twins plus 550. Put a couple bucks on that for a future pick. I did. Matter of fact, this is the first time.
Rob, before we get to you, did you cut out?
Oh, okay. I guess I don't get to finish.
No, I'm sorry, it cut out. My bad. Keep going.
This is the first time in Bet Your Nuts history, every bet I just gave, I actually made. So we'll see how it goes.
Dandy.
Nice.
Bet on your own. You should lose points for that.
Listen. I'm hobo status compared to you ballers, so it's slim pickings when I have free money to put on sports gambling. Matter of fact, these are free bets anyway. So
I'm sleeping under a trailer of metal.
Sleeping
right
under
now.
that hat.
Yeah. You're under
cash.
a tin roof. Yeah.
Metal and cash. Yeah, it's a shingled roof of 20s.
He's sleeping under that sombrero. Real quick, that Colorado State Nevada game, Rob, I was just thinking, I looked this up yesterday before we go to you. Colorado State has beaten Creighton, and that was by 21. Boston College, Colorado. They barely lost to St. Mary's. They beat New Mexico, San Diego State, UNLV, Boise State, Utah State. These guys are, and they're beating Nevada right now. Watch out for Colorado State. Isaiah Stevens and company are
a team like them and a team like Indiana State, they're gonna get left out because you have your and this is not picking the Big Ten, but 18 and 13 Michigan State, they're gonna get in. There's gonna be a Mississippi State, I think they're 19 and 13, 20 and 13. They're gonna get in. Those teams shouldn't get in. Let the teams that can't, because you penalize teams because they don't play a hard schedule. Well, you can't like for instance, and I know this directly because Tennessee schedules UTC, East Tennessee. They schedule the in-state schools to help them fund the schools. Well, Indiana State only has IU and Purdue, and then that's it. And so, do not penalize them for not being able to schedule teams because Gonzaga is not playing Indiana State, nor is Arizona or anyone else doesn't have a financial interest in them.
This is going to be the worst year for bubble teams watching their bubbles burst from their perspective in recent memory. I mean, there are so many conferences, like a team like Cincinnati yesterday, the SEC, Mountain West has 7 teams, 23 or 9 or better. It's going to be crazy. Actually, UNLV is not, but I digress. But Rob, you're up, dude. I think Tennessee is what, 9.5 or 10 at Mississippi State. So that doesn't count, but I want your bet and then your other lock.
Oh yeah, I bet on the basketball game. Yeah, no, Tennessee's going to cover. Mississippi State, I think they got their hope to win. I think they're in, and then Tennessee off of a loss is going to come and hammer Mississippi State. It's going to be early in the game, early in the day. Tennessee wants to set the tempo. I think they cover. My bet your nuts pick. I am also going out to my beloved sport of NASCAR, Bristol Motor Speedway. The Fords have not ran great this year, but the defending champion, Ryan Blaney, is due for a win. He's at plus 1,200. That's really good money for us in the scrap metal business. So we are we're gonna bet 1,000 pounds of metal on that, and then see how it rolls. So Blaney plus 1,200.
Here you have it, folks. Let's go straight into final thoughts. We may need that countdown clock again, Tom. We all seem to like it, especially for someone like me that talks too much. But final thoughts. And or words. I'm just gonna go quick. It's March. I love it, and it's one of the best times of the year. And it just, even though my team lost today, Rob saying that Sister Jean is the worst just represents everything that is great in the world in basketball this month. So thank you, Rob. And I can't believe I'm going to say this. Thank you for that hat. And I agree. It's not fair to have a representative of Jesus at the end of the bench. That's all I got. We're going to go next to Rob, then Shane, and then finish with Tom and his weighty wisdom that he always brings. So, Rob.
Yeah, my final thoughts this week are I'm excited and I have excitement. It's March and we have this week or this month, and then we have the Masters coming up. And so I want us all, the 4 of us, to enjoy what we have coming up right now. And then we'll, because this is the last time for a little dull in sports. And I look forward to getting on here every week with you guys and talking about it. And I'm really excited. I'll be in Nashville. Maybe I'll see Brandon. Maybe I won't. We'll see. But yeah, no, I'm glad. And then Tom's coming down. Then I'll see Tom next month and for NASCAR. And then Raj, we live in the same city. Never see you, but that's weird. Anyways, but yeah, everyone, thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. And like, subscribe, and everything like that. And I'll pass it over to Tom.
We're going to go to Chain first, and then Tom closes it out. It's not fair to follow Tom. He always brings it, so the rest of us will just come up.
I'm going to double up off Robbie. I was going to say something about the Masters as well. Obviously, I'm a little bit more golf oriented than basketball, but March is the only time I really focus on basketball. The tournaments are wild. The games are wild. It's just so much fun. Just enjoying the sport and the excitement and the games. I mean, they come down to the last shot like 80% of the time. Like, it's just so much fun to watch. So March Madness is always great. My daughter's birthday's in March. Like everything about March is just great. St. Patrick's Day, everybody loves that. Green beer, who doesn't?
Not the next day.
Just
Ooh.
perfect. And
This
then
is outstanding, and the highest number of strippers per ratio, like relative all year, is also that weekend in March. So I'm told.
Stats you'll get nowhere else other than reckless
That's
speculation.
good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Also about March, but sorry, was there anything else you love about March? Or
No.
just
That April comes next, and that's when the Masters is, and that is the Super Bowl of golf, and it's going to be great. But
that's going to be 1 hour of Brandon Chain, and so I can't wait for that. Actually, finally, no pressure, but Tomas, you have the final of the final words.
Well, if anybody has been following us for the last, we'll say year and a couple of days, you were probably familiar of the little bit of an episode that I went through, my wife and I. Last year, we had the fortune to come down and met with Robbie, met with Brandon. Did not meet with Raj, unfortunately, but we did meet later on at the Notre Dame game.
Trying to, but
yeah. But while I was down there, my dog Lilo ran away, and to kind of commemorate what we went through. Matter of fact, it was a year ago on Tuesday. There's Lilo right there. A year ago Tuesday is when she was found. And here's the video that the lady took. South Lyon Murphy Animal Rescue. It's an amazing organization, headquartered right here in South Lyon, Michigan. She, out of the goodness of her heart, goes and people contact her. She finds people's dogs, cats. She found a deer that got a pumpkin stuck on its head, and it was running around aimlessly through the woods. She found them. So we were fortunate enough to have her helping us. And there's her best friend, Mr. Clyde, who's our good buddy Rich Jasper's dog. So it was a year ago on Tuesday that she was found and recovered after 16 days on the lam. And here's her new best friend, Mr. Steve, sniffing butts there. But it's just awesome to see how she was able to recover. We got her back. She was skin and bones. I don't think she had more than 2 or 3 days left before I think she would have starved to death. But so yeah, it was definitely a traumatic experience that we went through. And I know you guys followed along, and you were very, very supportive, and you guys donated it, and it was amazing. Loved the outpouring. But for the 1 year anniversary that she was returned, I felt it was the perfect way to kind of bring this thing home. To kind of, I look at her every day, and she's so happy, and I put ourselves in her shoes back a year ago. It's hard to imagine that dog on the run for 16 days, and we were able to find her. She was about 5 miles away. And she was making her way towards the house. So when we found her, she was 2 miles from the house. So just a remarkable story. And I know I talked about it, and we talked about it while it was going on. And it was definitely something that controlled my emotions and my thoughts at the time. So a year ago Tuesday, we got her back. And for anybody that's interested in donating to the cause, this woman does everything based on donations only, and it's her time that she takes, and she does traps, and she does the food and all that, and that's out of her own pocket. So it's based out of whatever the goodness of people's hearts that can donate. So I did put it in the chat today, so anyone's interested in donating, that would be wonderful to keep her cause going and help other people that have lost animals, because she is magical. The night that we lost her, Robbie knows, we got in the car and we left right away. And she basically told me on the phone that night how it was going to go, and it went to a T, and took a little bit longer than we had wanted to. But there was a happy ending to our story, and I'm proud of it. So we cannot wait to get down to Chattanooga to actually continue what we had going. So we look forward to making our way down there at some time.
It was one of the more unbelievable things that I've ever seen as far as how she found the dog. But that being said, anyone who donates, if you donate, I will match it on behalf of Reckless Speculation.
That's awesome. Put it in
amazing.
the chat. Let us know in the comments if you donate. That would be great.
$10, if it's $100, if it's $500, I'll match your donation for the next 2 weeks. And because people like that need to be celebrated and also shared with other communities, because everyone has this kind of thing that's going on.
It was so inspirational, and inside, we're not going to compare to kids or whatnot, but animals are part of the family, and my biggest fear is losing them. And gone are the days of, at least from this young lady's perspective, flyers and hope. And she had motion cameras and a very scientific and sophisticated approach to tracking the dog and where they had searched. And I was amazed, and everything electronic. And it just gave me so much hope for just less fear of that worst thing possible, which it is, aside from family and close family and things that go without saying. So on that note, animals or family members, please donate. Robbie, you matching that is just amazing. I know you feel the same way. So for Tom Sloan, who, again, that's why he goes last in final words. You just can't follow that. Struggling at the moment. For Brandon Chain, for the 10-gallon hat. Robbie Davis, Sister Jean Hager as well. That's a new one. I am Roger.
I'm both evil and nice at the same time.
Another record number of people watching. So, yeah, keep like, subscribing, texting, bat signal, whatever, man. Thank you very much. Enjoy.
Thank you guys for watching.
See you next time.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Reckless Speculation. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube, searching Reckless Speculation. Catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We look forward to catching you right here next week with another exciting episode of Reckless Speculation.